Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my May film and TV wrap up. This month I didn't actually watch that many movies, so let's get into it. So the first film I watched was one that I've been anticipating for quite a while because I love the actress in it, and that is The Five Devils, or Les Cinq Diables, by Léa Mysius. I'll put the name there because I can't pronounce it. So this is a French movie, and the main actress in it is Adèle Exarchopoulos, who is one of my favourite French actresses / actresses in general. When she's in a project, naturally I always am at least intrigued to see whether it's something up my street, and this very much was up my street. The premise of this story is about a young mother, her husband and her daughter, and the daughter somehow has this basically witchcraft, so this ability to smell scents so deeply, like she can recreate the scent of her mother, she can identify where someone is by closing her eyes and just smelling. And so then what she does is she makes these concoctions of smells that basically incorporate that person. So this scent, if you smell it, you'd be like, oh, that's that person. And then somehow she time travels doing this, like she sniffs one of these concoctions and then literally travels back in time. And what unravels is a story from Joanne is the mother, and it basically, what unravels is a story from her teenage years before she married her husband Jimmy. Stuff happens. I don't know how to explain this, but basically it's so interesting, and like on Mubi it said about it being like elemental, and it's a coming of age story about a child coming to terms with her parents' past, but also it's a coming of age story of the mother Joanne as we find where she is now in her life. A lot happened to make her get there. I don't know how to explain this, but I thought it was fantastic, like very folk-tale-y, very dreamlike as well, and just gorgeously shot, and just really interesting about like past lives and how events change your life forever. And yeah, like at the crux, it's a queer love story that could never be because of an event that happened. But naturally with time travel stories, there's paradoxes in it, and the paradox at the heart of this story is so, when I saw it unravelling and when it came to its crux, I was like, oh, brilliant. The next movie I watched was A White White Day by Hildur Pálmason. This is an Icelandic film. Should we just read the synopsis, because I'm terrible at synopsises. So, in a remote Icelandic town, an off-duty police chief begins to suspect a local man to have had an affair with his wife, who has recently died in a car accident. Gradually, his obsession for finding out the truth accumulates and inevitably begins to endanger himself and his loved ones. A story of grief, revenge and unconditional love. That sums it up really. Beautifully shot. This is such a slow movie though, so it's not for everyone. Next film I watched was Année in Love, or Les Amours d'Année, by Charlene Bourgeois-Taquet. This is like a very fun, frivolous rom-com about a woman called Année. She's a bit flaky. She loves books. She's actually doing her PhD in literature, so that was one thing that definitely drew me to it, because I love movies where people in it love books, and that so happens that a lot of French movies are about people that read or love books, because I guess a love of literature is ingrained into the society perhaps. But it's like a cultural thing, isn't it? Like reading is cultural currency. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Année is a literature student. She's a bit frivolous. She's a bit flirty. She ends up meeting a older man in an elevator going to someone's house party who's also a family friend. She starts sleeping with him. But then she finds out that his wife is quite a beautiful, slightly younger, but still middle-aged writer, who then she becomes enamoured by, and then basically decides that she's going to seduce this guy's wife while also still kind of having an affair with him. So then she ends up having an affair with the two of them. Again, typical ménage à trois French film, but with a twist that she's the cheater in the equation for both of them. So there's Année, there's the husband, there's the wife, they go back to her, and then kind of to each other. So it's almost like a complete triangle, where love triangles generally aren't complete. But yeah, it just feels like such a summer movie. If you're in the mood for something fun, French, and frivolous. And then for something totally different, Event Horizon by Paul W.S. Anderson. This is basically Hellraiser in space. Like, it's Hellraiser meets Alien, essentially. It's fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. It's got Sam Neill in it that goes insane. It's got Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, it's just a fun-ish science fiction movie about a spaceship that disappears through a black hole and then comes back. And this crew go to explore what happened. Everyone pretty much dies. The ship becomes alive somehow because it's gone to another dimension. That's where, like, the Hellraiser shit comes into it. And, like, some of the way the carcasses are displayed and, like, faces, and very, very Hellraiser. The alien aspect of it is them exploring the spaceship and the tension, the horror elements. But there's no real aliens in it. It was alright. Kind of a bit better, but also a bit worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, some of the scares in it were quite cheesy in a way. In the way that old horror movies were. But they're still better than perhaps modern CGI horror stuff. And then the final film I watched in May was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I did say I was going to give up on Marvel movies. Basically, if the next Marvel movie I watched was utter trash, I would give up on them. This was alright. In the moment, it was enjoyable. I did cry my eyes out because of how fucking cute the raccoons were in this. Like, the little baby raccoons. And then all the animal torture that happened in it. That was horrifying. But I did kind of enjoy the allusion to the island of Dr. Moreau. The guy that was doing all these experiments on animals very much had Dr. Moreau energy, especially in the alternate Earth that he made where it was like animal-human hybrids. So I appreciated that, even though I didn't actually like that book because it's like a very midly written classic. In my opinion, I might enjoy it more now, but I read it years ago. Yeah, so I enjoyed that literary reference. Again, it's like a frivolous movie. Like, Marvel movies and movies, they're not films. So, like, it was enjoyable, it was a bit silly, and I went to see it with my sister. She always says, like, oh, Rocket Raccoon is my favourite Avenger. So this film, she actually did say that she nearly walked out because she thought he was gonna die. And she cried as well, because of, like, all the animal abuse in it. It's, like, it's fucking horrifying a bit. Also, like, some of the things in it were quite annoying. Like, the golden people being really dumb was quite annoying. It's just a bit of fun, isn't it? Like, I wouldn't ever watch it again, perhaps. So I'm not, like, Marvel isn't fully redeemed for me. I will go and see the next one. Fuck's sake. I feel like I'm chained to the Marvel machine and I can't escape. Oh, I've just realised what I was going to say. The animal testing is very much like a mediation on modern animal testing in, like, pharmaceuticals, like the cosmetics industry. So in a way, it's kind of brilliant to kind of, like, shine a spotlight on animal rights and the fact that a lot of people don't see them as a higher life form. Like, at the end of the movie, Rocket is like, we're saving these animals. And everyone's like, oh, I thought we're only going for the higher life forms. Animals should be equal to humans. Let's just get that straight. So in a way, it's great that they've added this into a movie that millions of people are going to watch. So it shines a spotlight on a true real life issue of animal rights and animal testing. So love that. Thank you, James Gunn. But yeah, apart from that, it was alright. A bit too, like, emotional. Like, it did very much feel like you will cry at this kind of thing. So, like, thanks a lot. Cried my eyes out at the cinema. Ugh. But yeah, so they are all the movies I watched, and let me talk about TV shows. Didn't really watch much. I think it's actually like 2 Nordic noirs. So one of them was Top Dog, which is a Swedish crime drama that's currently on Channel 4/Walter Presents. It tells the story of 2 different people from different worlds. So you've got, oh, I forgot to note down names, whoops. I watched this at the beginning of the month, so forgotten most of it. A female lawyer and then a male ex-con who has just left prison, is trying to readjust to civilian life. The lawyer is basically, she comes from a poor background but has managed to get herself into a top law firm. So there's like this idea that she has to go above and beyond to prove herself to her male colleagues and to her richer colleagues. A young billionaire, the next CEO of a company, he is kidnapped, and the lawyer then has to go and investigate what happened to him discreetly so that the share prices of this firm don't plummet. And while she's investigating the kidnapping, her life becomes intertwined with the ex-con. I remember his name because it's Teddy, but I can't remember her name. Whoops. But yeah, so their paths cross. He helps her because he knows like the criminal underworld of Sweden, helps her investigate this kidnapping. It's really good. I enjoyed it. And I think like season 2 has come out in Sweden, so hopefully they'll send it our way soon. But yeah, like it's quite interesting. The mixture of really wealthy, rich people and people from the underbelly of society. The dark corners of Stockholm. The other TV show I watched, oh actually I did watch Eurovision, which I haven't actually watched fully since 2007. My favourite song from 2007 was Dancing Lasha Tumba. But you know the iconic one, the iconic Ukrainian song. So that was the last time I actually watched Eurovision fully. Like I'd kind of followed it slightly over the years, seeing some of the performances, but mainly like on YouTube and not as it was airing. But I decided to sit down and watch it this year because I was like, you know what? I want to have some fun and join in with what is like, it's just a celebration of love and community through music. And like a lot of the songs were like pretty decent. Obviously it was obvious that Loreen was going to win because her song was such an earworm. And I also enjoyed the fact that there were some nutters from, I think it was Austria, who wrote a song about the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe possessing them, only in Eurovision. And of course Finland, again, only in Eurovision. But yeah, like it was fun just sitting there watching and just, yeah, soaking up the fun of Eurovision. So I'll probably make it like a tradition to watch it each year now. And then the final show I watched was Black Sands, which is an Icelandic Nordic noir, because last month I watched Trapped and I just needed more. This one was on Alibi/Now TV, and so atmospheric. There were like slight Hannibal vibes in it as well. Like there was no cannibalism, but there were just these vibes that kind of, because quite quickly you know who the murderer is. And it's almost like the fact in Hannibal, you know Hannibal is the fucking cannibal, but he's tricking everyone around him, he's manipulating everyone around him. So it was kind of like that in this show, which I really appreciated, because I do love a good, I don't know, like criminal being all slimy and weird, but also charming people around them and fooling everyone, but then you're like, oh my god, it's that person. There's also like a complex story of familial bonds in this. So a detective moves back from Reykjavik to her hometown, which I think is like in the north. No, it's in Vik, isn't it? I think, no, it's down in Vik, because it's the Black Sand, so the famous Black Sand beach, and comes home to an abusive household. Like her mother was so hard on her growing up, so she's got that as a chip on her shoulder, and the fact that she's leaving this big city life to come back home to live with her mother, it dregs up all of these memories of abuse, while she's also trying to investigate a murder or suspicious accident where a tourist has fallen off of a cliff onto the beach and died. And yeah, it's really interesting how these stories unravel. The moody atmosphere, the cinematography is gorgeous in this as well. Like there's a very filmic quality to the colour palette. Then there's like at the beginning and I think at the end of the episodes, or sometimes, the camera flips round and kind of creates this dizzying effect, and the soundtrack is amazing in this as well. Like there's a lot of really cool songs that I've discovered from it. One of them is from an Icelandic rock band called Salt by Mammut. Gorgeous atmospheric song. Really enjoyed this show actually, so highly recommend it if you love Nordic noirs and you want something quite dark, menacing, and also just as much about the murder as it is about about the history of these people and them coming to terms with emotional turmoil, and then like discovering that some people aren't who they thought they were. Like, it's always really fascinating in these kind of shows where it's small towns coming to terms with wickedness within the town. That Black Sands, definitely watch it. I don't know where else you can watch it around the world, but in the UK it's on Now TV. So that's everything I watched in May. Thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you've enjoyed watching movies and TV wise in the month of May, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.